What led you to a life in gangs?
You know, I got kicked out of my grandma and them's house at a young age. I got mixed in with the wrong crowd. My daddy was in and out of prison my whole life.
Tell me about tattoos. When did you start getting?
My first tattoo, you probably can't see it, but it says CH. It was a stick poke tattoo.
What about illicit substances, drugs, alcohol, and everything? How old were you when you started using?
I started doing cocaine and meth probably around the age of 14. Drinking, smoking weed probably the age of 12 or 13. Meth, cocaine, and experiment with meth. I started, dabbling with like shrooms and tried acid before, and pain pills and Xanaxes and stuff like that. But yeah, I started off at a very young age.
Talk about recidivism. You've been in prison how many times?
4.
And you would think that one time would do the trick.
Yeah. Prison don't teach you nothing, and after, when you first get locked up, if you go to jail for a short amount of time, you miss your family like crazy, but you're not really there long enough to let it sit in. But then when you go for a long period of time, 5, 10 years, 15 years, you get to where you don't miss your family like that.
Right.
It's out of sight, out of mind.
You kind of have to put that up there.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, like I say, at prison, it's a concrete jungle, and it's, you really have to, you can't show signs of weakness in there. You can't, and after you train yourself to do that over and over. Like I'm pretty sure, like in the military, when people go to war and stuff, they have to keep that family and that home life. They have to keep it out of there.
Just
they have to
compartmentalize.
Yeah, compartmentalize it, and they have to just take it out. And what happens over time, once you do that, it just blocks it completely. And I reckon it's your brain's way of protecting you from feeling pain and sorrow and stuff like that. And then while you're inside prison, you're so worried about, especially if you're affiliated with something, or even if you're not, you're so worried about your safety. Am I going to die when I wake up this morning, or is something going to pop off between these people and these people? Am I going to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, or something like that? And to be honest with you, I had some fun times in prison. I met a lot of good people in there, and I just, all the drugs that I was doing on the streets, I had just as much, if not more, in prison. We had cell phones, we had. I mean, anything you want, you have access to in prison.
You got money, you can get it.
Yeah, and it was like I was never locked up, and I met higher up officials, or other connections on certain things, that when I got out, I can make phone calls, I can do this and I can do that and I can do that. And really, to me, prison made me a more hard up criminal. The fact of knowing that, oh man, I'm out here selling drugs, or I'm out here doing this, or I'm out doing this, I'm end up getting right back put in prison. It didn't bother me. And a lot of people, they're not worried about going back to prison. I mean, they're not.
I learned a lot of people expect that they're going to go back to prison.
And and that is, I mean, when you get out, and like me, for instance, I'm covered in tattoos. I got a record, a long record. So I'm like, boom, when they let me out, society is gonna look at me all kind of crazy.
Yeah.
People are not gonna want to hire me, no matter if I change my life around or not. Because people are so judgmental, and it kind of put me in the same position. I have to go back to doing what I do,
right,
doing what I was doing in the streets, in order to take care of my family, take care of my kids. And it's just a it's a revolving door. And I believe if felons have more of a chance, if they have more programs or more people that was willing to go out on a limb and work with them people, and build a rapport with them, a relationship with them, and kind of show them a better way. It's a lot of times as human beings, we're like robots. We get so adapted to doing something a certain way, and we're in our own little comfort zone, and that's where we stay. And I had to realize that if you're not stepping out of your comfort zone, then you're not going to be successful in life.
Yeah.
If you're not stepping out on a limb, trying to climb higher, trying to do new things, and accepting the ups and accepting the downs, but just keep getting back up, and fighting harder and harder and harder. If you don't put forth the effort into changing your life and doing the right thing, you're just gonna stay in that revolving door. I mean, it's over and over and over again, and a lot of people just don't do that. You know, all the time and the work and the effort that I put into the streets, it gave back. The more I put in, the more it gave back.
Yeah.
Whether it was negative feedback, whether it was a positive feedback, it gave back. And a lot of times, you get so accustomed to doing that as a child growing up, it's branded in your mind to do that. You know, and you're scared to step out on a limb because it's like, oh man, what if I step out and I start following Christ, or I start working, or I start getting a job, I relocate, I do this and I do that. What if that fails?
Yeah.
I know nobody in this world. All I know is this.
Yeah.
I'm stepping into it's like stepping into a new universe, a new world. You know nobody. You have no job skills. You don't have this. You don't have that. And it's a sense of failure. You don't want to fail, but you know you can succeed in this life. I mean, you might not succeed as far as, you know, being a good, productive citizen. You're probably gonna go back to prison, or, you know, 90% of gang banging in street life, you're either gonna end up in prison or dead.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way around it. Yeah. You know, and it's just, you know, people are so scared to because by the time, you know, I was in my 30s, late 30s, before I finally decided to just step out on a limb and just give it all I got.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't make it that far. You know, I was lucky to make it that far. And,
Yeah.
you know, but what got it for me was people like you that spent time with me 10, 15 years ago or whatever, that worked with me and worked with me and worked with me through my highs and through my lows, and, you know, other pastors and people from churches, or, you know, my wife, you know, people that's just, my grandma, my grandpa, people that, my mom, that just stuck by my side and never gave up on me and was there for me to catch me when I fell and just show me, you know, open up doors for me. You know, there's people out there, like now, I could take somebody in and out of prison, a young man, a gang member or whatever, and now I got the tools and the know-how to be able to reach out to that person.
Right.
I know contractors, I know, you know, higher up business people and stuff like that. I can get him a job. I can work alongside him. I can help him. And that's, you know, that's why I think recidivism is so high, because you get out of prison, they put you on parole, you got these crazy high parole fees to pay, and all this other extra fines and fees and this and that and that. And it's like, I mean, that's a lot on a person, man. You bring them out of the one world, throwing them in another world with no skills, no nothing, nobody to help. They survive.
And what I find interesting in our state's prison system, part of their mission statement is to rehabilitate. And included in rehabilitation is giving you skills to be able to be successful once you get out. And I think they're totally failing. And you talk about positive programming. Our state has the opportunity to put positive programming in all the prisons, and right now they're just not doing it.
Yeah, they're not.
They're falling. They're failing.
I mean, it's okay to, you know, teach a class or have somebody come to this, but if you're just teaching textbook and you're just rambling off stuff that other people rambled off to them, and you're not taking out the, you know, just taking time and out with that person to really, you know, it gets frustrating. Yeah. I've been to a lot of places that people come out and spoke to us, or they did this, or they did that, and then they're going to the next event or to a next class, and they give you this little bit of information in this big old world, and you got to try to figure it out on your own. Yeah. And the most important thing is, you know, putting tools in people's life so they can go out there and be productive. Yeah. You know, that's like, you know, I hire you on to do a plumbing job, and I hand you a tool bag, and in that tool bag, you got stuff in it like a hammer, a skill saw, you know, like a little hand saw, a jigsaw, you know, electrical components. What are you gonna do with that? You know what I mean? Like, you got to you got to set people up with the proper tools to be able to be successful in life. You can't just throw something at them and expect them to do it.